Good morning, everybody. Happy Labor Day. Hope everyone's having a good week so far. I guess it just started, so you should be having a good week at this point. Let me get everything streaming real quick here to Facebook. We will get going here just in a little bit. So hope everybody saw the topic today. It's actually because of what we did last week with video, when we were talking about geez, now I can't even remember about last week, but we talked about video and people were saying, man, we want to get started with doing live or doing video. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. So give me 1 second. Let me just get things going here on Facebook and we'll start just in the next minute or two. What's up, Norma? Hey, Brad. Good to see you guys. Tim, my man. Good to see you.
What's up, dude?
How are you?
Really good, man. Really good. Excited to learn.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Let's see.
Hey, Kyle, how's it going?
What's up, Brad? Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Latrice, Mark. What's going on, guys?
Good morning. How are you?
Doing good. Doing good. All right. Let's see here. Who sold a house over the weekend?
Well, I've been under contract for a while, so I have a closing tomorrow. I didn't sell it over the weekend.
Hey, that's good though. Got a closing tomorrow. Nice. Awesome. Real estate video. All right. I think we are set. We are going live. Here we go. All right, guys. What's up, Mario? How are you doing? Hey, Lisa. Good to see you. All right. Well, welcome, guys. We're getting some, looks like last minute people jumping in. I'll give you a couple minutes, or actually another minute before we get started here. All right. Let's see. View. All right, cool. There we go. All right. We are live on Facebook. We're live on Zoom. Well, welcome everybody to today's Monday Mastermind call. Today is the 2nd of September. Oh my gosh, I can't believe we are already in September. So the holidays are right around the corner. So hope everybody's having a great, great year so far. And, hopefully what we talk about today can kind of jumpstart and, kickstart your video business. If you haven't already gotten into video yet, that's kind of going to be our topic today of everything that we're covering. And going over, I've got a few questions that we're going to be answering today and going into detail. So let me share my screen with you guys here so you can see what I'm seeing. Here we go. Share that. All right. Perfect. So today, here we go. This is what we're going to be covering. First off, the types of real estate video that I do and that I think that most agents should do, or all agents really should do, and how to shoot real estate video. So I'll be talking about the different equipment, the different things you need to be aware of, mindful of while you're shooting and after you're shooting, and then how to edit that real estate video. And because we are covering so much, like literally all of these topics could probably be its own Monday Mastermind. This is going to be like the high level overview of all of this different stuff. And then I'm sure that I will either create videos more in detail about these individual questions that you can get more info on. Or, of course, as you have questions during this training, feel free to type it in the chat and I can try and expand on it a little bit more. But let's see here. How long should a real estate video be? We get a lot of those people asking those types of questions. And then which platforms should be used for real estate video? So stick around. This is going to last about just under an hour. We'll get you out of here about 10 a.m. Central Time. And we'll be answering all of these questions. So first off, let's talk about the types of real estate video that there are. So these are the different types of video that I see most often, or that I've used most often and had good success with. First off, of course, we all want listing videos. I think that those are a great way in today's, just society to kind of get, our listings promoted to the most amount of people. Video is so powerful. Of course, pictures is also very powerful, but if you want to do something that not everybody is doing, listing videos is a great way to do that. It just makes you look like the professional. This was, something we talked about when we talked about our 20-step real estate listing marketing plan last week. And a lot of people had questions about the specifics of listing videos. So we will talk about that today. But we've got listing videos. We've got explainer videos, which what an explainer video is, in my opinion, or like what I think about when I hear that, is mostly just like, there's a topic that you want to cover, whether it's rising interest rates or, interest rates going lower, or, supply and demand. There's topics that, buyers and sellers are interested in, that you'll want to cover, and you'll want to have a library of them. So, for a couple purposes. One, people can find you through that content, but then also if there's like a question that you get asked, a ton of times, it's a lot easier to create a 3 or 5 minute video explaining it one time, and then have that link be something you can just send to somebody and say, hey, yeah, it's a great question. Maybe just touch on it, answer it for, 10 seconds, but say, hey, realistically, I'd love to send you this, video that explains it in detail. Is that okay? And when they see that, that's so powerful, to have it be done, and have it be done by you. So they see you as the professional. And so that's just, that's what I would call an explainer video. I think those are very, very powerful. And then also doing neighborhood or area summary videos. This is where, like, we kind of talked a little bit last week about keyword research, and using that like to your advantage for like blog posts and things like that. But you can actually use keyword research for neighborhood and area summary videos, right? Like if you wanted to find out like what people are searching for on Google, like maybe it's homes for sale in 78258, right? Like that's a zip code in my market. And you can use tools for this keyword research. A couple of the ones that I use is KW Finder. That's short for keyword. So KWFinder.com. That's a great keyword research tool, which will show you what people are searching for on Google. And you kind of start there. Like that's the beginning of the process where, like, when I'm trying to create video, I want to find what people are already searching for, like what's on people's minds. And then when I see what the demand is for a particular zip code or an area or a topic, whatever that might be, then that's kind of how I rank, like what videos I want to do first. And so, I've got literally a list of keywords that I just work off of, even like doing these types of video, these Monday masterminds, that's literally kind of how I do it. I base it on maybe topics that have come up from a previous Monday mastermind, but then I go into, my keyword research tool and I see, is there a lot of demand there? Like, are there a lot of people searching for whatever that topic might be? And then if so, how do I structure, that video to reach that audience searching for that particular keyword? And so you can definitely do that. Like, so if you're looking for specifically like YouTube, there's a keyword research tool specifically for YouTube called TubeBuddy, TUBE Buddy, BUDDY.com. And that's a great keyword research tool for YouTube videos and for the YouTube platform. And then KW Finder is great for like blog posts and great for like knowing what people are searching for just on Google. But what I've found is, if you use one or the other, it kind of doesn't matter. I do actually use both, but most of them are in alignment with each other. But if a lot of people are searching Google for it, chances are there's a lot of people searching on YouTube for videos that explain that same thing. And so anyway, so there's a pretty decent correlation there. It's not always the case, but sometimes, like, what's kind of cool, what I'll look for is like a keyword on Google might have a ton of competition for it, where I'll probably never rank my blog posts for it. But then I'll go to TubeBuddy and I'll check the keywords on TubeBuddy and realize that the competition on YouTube is actually underserved. Like there's not a whole lot of competition for it. And so that's an opportunity where video might actually benefit you more than like a blog post or just typing something out. And so anyways, that's just a little extra hint there. But getting back to kind of like what you can do with it, like say for instance, if people are searching for homes for sale in 78258, why not have a quick video? Literally, it can be like what I'm doing right now, where it's a webcam video with you sharing your screen and sharing the most recent comps in the last 6 to 12 months. I wouldn't do anything so like localized where it's like, this is what, is happening this week in 78258 or even this month. I would do more of like a generalized, like 6 to 12 month kind of overview of the zip code, because before that video really starts to gain traction, and you want it to rank organically like evergreen, where it's going to last on for at least a decent amount of time, 6 or 12 months before you have to redo another one. You probably want to think that through, right? Like, so, do something that talks about 6 to 12 months, maybe even longer, right? Like, what this zip code has looked like over the past 5 years, the different types of things that people are interested in that zip code, right? Like it's got great shopping, it's got great restaurants, it's got great schools, like whatever it might have. And then just, share your screen, show the comps, maybe have like make a little, Google Slides, kind of like what I've created here for that zip code, or make like a, or if you use Keynote or PowerPoint, it's the same thing. Just make a little presentation. So if people can follow along with you, and do that for like the 5 top zip codes in your areas, or the 5 top, if you don't go by zip codes, maybe yours is like the small cities or something like that. Use that, like, the best homes for sale in, Alamo Heights, right? Like that'd be like a sub market of San Antonio, right? You could do something like that and create, these neighborhood or area summary videos, because people are searching for that stuff all the time. And that is how, not only then, so now you have it to where it's like ranking organically, people might find you because they're searching for that and see you as the expert. But then now too, whenever you take on a new client, if they're looking in that zip code or that area, you actually can say, hey, look, by the way, I actually just created a great video that I think you should watch, that talks about this thing. And then you can send that to them. So, I mean, if you have an area that you constantly serve, like if you're always working in a certain zip code or a certain marketplace or a certain neighborhood, whatever that might be, like create that video so you always have that. You can give that out like in the first time you meet somebody, because then that automatically gets them to start trusting you more, to know that you're the expert more. And it gives you good practice of like learning the different areas. I mean, if I was a brand new real estate agent, and maybe you're thinking, well, like people don't trust me yet, like I'm new in the business, whatever that might be. Well, the best way you can actually learn these areas and learn these, these zip codes and neighborhoods is do all this work that we're talking about right now, and create video while you're doing it. And, and have like a little format, like I'm going to talk about comps, and then I'm going to talk about the schools, and I'm going to knock out, 2 or 3 of these videos per week. Because now you're learning about those different areas, you're creating content that can be used, a long time down the road, and you're becoming the expert, because then now you're going to share those posts to your social media, to your blog or your website if you've got one. And so when people see that stuff, they're going to think, oh my gosh, this guy, he might be new, but he knows what he's talking about, or she knows what she's talking about, whatever. And so, I think that's where you can use these neighborhood or area summary videos to your advantage. And then, of course, we got to talk about live video, guys. Everybody thinks that everything's got to be like produced or, well, thought out beforehand. And quite honestly, guys, some of the best videos are live videos. I posted a video not too long ago, and it got over 8,000 views. It was literally just an EXP video. We were at a convention, and it took a video of our founder and CEO, Glenn Sanford, and an agent at EXP, Pat Hayes. And I mean, I swear I was just thinking that, like, I was just going to take this video and maybe a couple hundred people would see it. It got shared by 50 people. And I mean, I think it was 8,000 views was the last time I saw it, maybe a few days ago. That was just like a live video. But, you know, and so not to say that that's what your content is always going to be about. I'm using that more to show that like it doesn't have to have professional lighting, you know, professional audio equipment. We'll talk about all that here in a second. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is putting out content out there. And by doing it live, you're going to cut down on a whole lot of, you know, the production that has to take place after the fact, like editing and even like stuff that takes place in the beginning, you know, like all the stuff of getting the equipment ready. Like a live video, you know, it's just done, right? Like you shoot it and it's up there. You don't even think about it. And the coolest thing about it is right now, Facebook promotes live video above pretty much every other type of content on their site, whether that be photos, whether that be other video, whether that just be typing or sharing, you know, blog posts or links to things. Like literally live video has the most promotion organically through Facebook. So like if you're putting any kind of live video out there, it's going to get as much views as possible. Now, of course, a lot of it does depend too, like how much it's getting shared, how much it's getting liked. But if you get in the habit of just doing that, that's a great way to get a lot of content out there. In addition to all this other stuff that we're talking about. So like live video, I like to use for like behind the scenes kind of stuff, taking people more like personal, because since it is live, they feel like, you know, there's no script here. There's no agenda necessarily, like you're seeing it raw, uncut. So, I mean, it's just a great supplement to everything else that you're already doing. So I definitely want to say live video is a great way to add in to kind of everything else that you're doing. And then the last thing is video messages, guys. If you're not doing video messages, I think you're missing out on a huge way to build relationship with people. You know, I mean, like when, for instance, like you know, somebody's birthday comes up, you know, it's like 1,000 people put on their Facebook wall, happy birthday, couple emojis, you know, all that kind of stuff. And that gets like, you know, it's almost borderline like where it's annoying. You get so much and you're just like, oh my gosh, you know, you get so many of them, but you know, you want to stand out, right? Like you want somebody to think like, oh my gosh, this guy took, you know, an extra 30 seconds out of their day. And it's so easy, right? It's just, you know, hey, John, Kyle here, man. I just hope that you have an amazing birthday today. I was thinking about you. If you ever, you know, need anything, let me know, right? Like they get that as a text message to them, or if you send that in an email or whatever it might be, there's programs you can use. I mean, we could talk about BombBomb. That's a great, you know, video emailing platform. And you can create super simple videos just using a webcam like this and shoot it out to somebody. You know, it's 10, 15, 20-second video, but that will have so much more of a lasting impact on that person than just, you know, being another person that types in, you know, Facebook, happy birthday, right? You can even send it as a Facebook message, right? Like just, you know, message their inbox with, you know, that video that you've created. So easy to do, guys. So easy to do. And it just makes that much more of an impact. So, you know, the more you can get familiar and comfortable and confident with, you know, creating video and being, you know, comfortable on camera, the better it will help you in the long run, guys, because that is where everything is going, is video. Like video is key right now. I mean, you can start to see, I mean, people started cutting the cord for cable, right? Like less and less people watch, you know, cable TV anymore. You know, Facebook has got its own watch platform. Instagram has its own TV platform, you know, IGTV. So a lot of people are consuming their content these days, their video content, on social media platforms and through the internet. So, you know, that is kind of the untapped resource, right? Like, so to speak, like you probably would have never bought a commercial, a 30-second commercial, you know, back in the day on television, right? Like most of us didn't have those funds, and even still today we don't, right? Like we don't buy that. But 1 second, guys, I go a little bit of feedback here. Mute that. But with social media, it's like all of us can be our own kind of media people, right? And I think, you know, Gary Vaynerchuk actually talks about this the best. And if you haven't watched this video, let me show you guys this. You need to go check this video out. Just go on YouTube and type in Inman Connect Gary Vaynerchuk keynote. This is 2016, but honestly, he was like spot on back then. This is 3 years ago. and it's 50 minutes, very, pretty long. And just for anybody who's not familiar with Gary Vaynerchuk, there's a couple F-bombs in the video, right? That's just his style. But what he talks about is so true, and it's so spot on. Kind of his thing that he says is you've got to be the digital mayor for your community or for your city or whatever, right? Like, there is very few real estate agents that are tackling the video side of being the digital mayor for their city, right? Like, there's a lot of real estate agents out there, and they all have kind of their own little niche of how they, acquire clients and how they service clients, right? Like, some people just pay for Zillow, right? And they get Zillow leads. Some people, do Facebook ads, to send people to their, buyer IDX feed. And some people, send people to their seller landing pages. And some people do direct mail. And some people call expireds and FSBOs. But the one thing that you very rarely see in any given marketplace is somebody really capturing the market on video. And so I think that's a huge opportunity for any real estate agents, because two reasons. One, I mean, people are already going to be consuming it. And then two, I think that video is the quickest way for you to gain trust with somebody, which in the real estate, industry, and a lot of industries, maybe you're watching this in a different industry, if it's any kind of service industry, you've got to build trust with people, right? And so, even just sending out like your market report on an email, that's not as much trust that you could build as if you did the same thing in a video format, right? When people get to see your face, they get to see how you're explaining something, you can quickly build that relationship to where you're going to start getting more and more business automatically, like for you. People are going to be reaching out to you versus you constantly having to prospect and try and get them, right? So you put that information out there in the video format, I think it's going to return, in spade back to you. So anyways, so that's the types of real estate videos. And we'll, again, listing videos, that's just your, 2, 3, 4, 5 minute long video of your listing. And you can either professionally have somebody do that for you, or you can create it yourself. And we'll talk a little bit about how to create it yourself here in a second. The explainer videos, again, just explaining a topic centered around real estate, or whatever industry that you're in that people often have questions about. The neighborhood and area summary videos are great ones. Live video, behind the scenes kind of stuff. And then, of course, video messages, which are more personalized to the person that you want to send them to. So those are the types of videos. Now we'll talk about how to shoot real estate videos. All right. So a lot of people, when they ask me about how do I shoot my real estate videos, they instantly want to know like the camera equipment, right? Like, and I've over the years gotten better and better camera equipment. And so now my videos, they do look, pretty good, right? Like they've got, great appeal as far as like the background is blurred, the foreground, like my face is, crisp and in focus. I can do 4K and all this is, great. But at the end of the day, I still think that is the least important part of creating real estate video. It truly and honestly is the least important part. And I've actually kind of ranked these by what I do think that is important. Okay. So first and foremost, how to shoot real estate videos. And we're going to talk about each of these in more detail. But one of the most important things that comes into play when you're creating video is truly the audio. The sound of it. I mean, that's why I've got a mic like this, right? Like, a mic, having a good, investing in a good mic is so important. And whether you're taking videos with your phone, I'll show you a couple mics you can buy if you're doing it on your phone, whether you're doing it by webcam, right? Like there's different video or audio equipment you can put into your computer, or if you're doing it by a DSLR, digital camera, having great audio is almost more important than having great video. Like if you have kind of pixelated video or whatever, but the audio is clear and crisp, that is more important in my eyes than having crisp, beautiful looking, video with terrible audio where it's kind of staticky or it's just, sounds echoey or hollow. Like, having that crisp audio is so important. So, and it's a lot cheaper to get good audio equipment than it is to get, good video equipment. So that's something to note there. Now, next is lighting, right? you don't want to be in, where your face is, dark and they can't even see you. And that's probably the most important thing when you're creating this type of video, is to have your face be exposed properly. Right. And so, or if it's like a listing video or something like that, you want to make sure that the scene is exposed properly, which would be, the home in that instance. And, the lighting part of it, we'll get into it more in detail, it's pretty easy. That's probably one of the easiest ones to accomplish, but you just need to be aware of it. So we'll talk about that here in a second. Internet connection, of course, that's more important for if you're doing, live streams, like if you're doing live video on Facebook, if you're doing, like a webcam video, something live, like what I'm doing right now, you just need to make sure that you have a great internet connection. Otherwise, it doesn't even matter. You might have, good audio, like have a good mic, you might have good video, but if you're streaming it live and you've got a bad internet connection, it makes the resolution so much smaller. It makes the audio so much smaller, just because, it's going to try and keep the video going. But it just, makes that what it's transferring, all the information, so much smaller. So that way the video can keep going. So, if you've basically, you're out and about and you're doing a live video, look at your cell signal. Do you have full bars, or do you only have 1 bar or 2 bars? If you have 1 or 2 bars, don't do it, right? Like, wait until, move somewhere where you got full bars. Or are you at a place where you can hook up to their Wi-Fi network? If so, definitely hook up to the Wi-Fi network and then check to make sure that it's a good, strong signal with Wi-Fi. There's a couple things that you can do. Especially, and this is more like, if you're like really trying to do something important, right? Like, it's not just like a quick, like live video or whatever behind the scenes. Like maybe you actually are doing a presentation live or something, right? Like make sure that you connect to that Wi-Fi, and you can use tools like on your phone. You can actually download an app called Speedtest, or I think you can just go to their browser, speedtest.com, and see what that Wi-Fi signal is. And, make sure that you're getting, like a couple megabytes, per second download, and hopefully at least like a meg or so upload speed. The upload speed is probably the more important part when you're doing live video, because it's going to be uploading that feed. So, you want to at least have like a megabyte upload speed as well, as far as your internet connection is concerned. So, all right. And then the last thing we're going to talk about is video equipment, and the type of video equipment that you can, or that you might want to use. And so this starts all the way from like, your phone, all the way to DSLRs, and a couple of the ones that I definitely recommend. So, all right. So first off, with audio equipment, I've got 3 different suggestions for you here. If you're going to use your phone, which I think that for honestly anybody getting started with it, using your phone is the best way to do it. You want to make sure that you're going to be consistent with video before you go out there and spend thousands of dollars on video cameras and stuff. Because even if you have the good equipment, if you're not consistent with, even shooting it on your phone or whatever equipment that you have right now, you're probably not going to be consistent with it with a good quality camera, right? So then you're just going to waste all that money. That camera's going to sit there forever. And you're going to be like, man, I should have never bought this. So, get started. Just get a good mic for your phone. Rode, they build some really good equipment. That's pretty much what I use for everything. So I use, for like iPhone stuff, you can get this thing called the Smart Lav. I think that it runs like $100, I want to say, for that one. Actually, here, let me go back. I'll just show you on Amazon here what it looks like. So it's this Smart. There we go. It looks like this one right here. So it just plugs into your iPhone, or your Android or whatever phone you have. Now, if you're on one of the newer phones, of course, your phone doesn't have a headphone jack, or the newer iPhone won't have a headphone jack like that, but it should have come with like a little adapter that you can use. It doesn't look like that. It actually goes into, I don't know I'm sure you can find one if you've already lost yours or something like that. But basically, it takes this right here and you plug it into where it looks like a charging port, like the little Thunderbolt connector. And so it's just like a little 2-inch long cable, and you plug that into that if you got one of the newer iPhones. But otherwise, if you just got a headphone jack like this, it'll plug right in. Now I didn't know this before, but a lot of times people will just go and get lavalier mics. Let me show you this. So don't make this mistake. So if you go out and you get we'll just say a lavalier mic, right? Which a lavalier mic, the cool thing about that is that's just, I mean, you just clip it onto your shirt, you're right. So, and it's so small, you can bring it wherever you want with you. That's going to give you some of the best audio that you could want. But like, let's say you go out and you just go get a lavalier mic, like one of these. Let's see if it shows it. Let's see here. Okay, so this one's got 3 on it. Yeah, so what you want to look for are these rings right here. Yeah, so this one was already compatible, and this is actually a cheaper option if you guys wanted to. I bought this a long time ago, and it works really good. This one's only $22, like, you know, compared to $78. It's not as good, I would say, as the Rode, but you know, it's definitely better than just shooting your iPhone quality audio. But what you want to look for is that, see on the here on this tip, it's got 3 black rings. That means that it'll work on your smartphone. Okay. So I don't know why smartphones are different, but they need to have those 3 black rings. Whereas if you're doing something for like a DSLR, right, and you're going to use a lavalier for a DSLR, what you're going to notice is that it's only going to have two black rings like that. So like, for instance, let me find one that's got it. I can't even find one now, but anyways, you can kind of get the point. So if you're looking at buying one of these, just make sure if you're going to be using it on your phone that it's got the 3 black rings and not just 2. Otherwise, you're going to have to get in a different adapter to do that. So that's pretty much it. I mean, you basically just bring that with you, plug it in your phone, take your video wherever you're at with your phone, right? Whether it's live, whether it's recorded, and you're going to be doing something with it later. Just make sure you have good audio. You'll be happy that you did later. So anyways, that's that. Now, if you're using a DSLR, then you're going to probably want something, you can still use a lavalier, but just make sure you need to have the 2 bars instead of the 3 bars for that lavalier. But what I like to use, so I don't have to, you know, mic up every single time, is I just use a boom mic, it's called, which is basically like this, Rode wireless, not wireless go, it's Video Mic Go. Like Video Mic. It's going to look like this. Super cheap and easy, $62. It doesn't need any external battery sources. You can, like, if most of the time when you're, you know, taking video, you're usually outside, and if it's windy at all, you're going to want one of these. They call it a dead cat. It kind of, I guess, cause it kind of looks like a dead cat, right? And you just replace out this little black meshed part with this, and it actually will cut out a lot of that wind noise, so your audio quality is a lot better. So basically, you buy those 2 things, and that hooks up into your DSLR. You can actually see here, like if we look closely on this one, I guess you can't really get in too close, but it's only got the 2 black rings, and that's because it's going to go into your DSLR. So you wouldn't be able to use that with like an iPhone or anything like that. Not that you would, not that you'd want to like mount that to your iPhone. You can actually see it's got a mount that goes right on the top of the DSLR. So that's what I use there. Okay. Buy those 2 things, and then you can just mount that to your DSLR. It just sits on there, and then you plug it into your DSLR, and then it's going to have great audio. And the point of a boom mic, just to give you guys an idea, is see how it's kind of pointed out straight across? It's going to pick up audio perfectly from whatever's in front of that. If you're like standing behind the camera, like say you were holding the camera, you know, kind of like this, and, you know, it's shooting out this way, and you're talking behind it, it's not going to pick up your audio very good. This is literally for like if you were holding the camera out in front of you and talking into it, then that's where you would use that. Otherwise, what you would want to do is, the cool thing with these boom mics is you could actually rotate it. And so the boom is actually backwards. Like if you were holding the camera out forwards and you wanted to talk, you can turn that boom mic around to where you're holding it and it's recording your audio perfectly. So those are a couple different options for you there. And then if you're doing things on a computer, right? Like if you're making videos like this on a webinar kind of, or a, you know, just like on a webcam kind of a thing, you're not going to want to use the audio from the webcam. Trust me, I've tried it. It sounds terrible. Even if you get a good webcam, they're not as good as having something like what I've got here, right? Now, what I would say, the easier setup, I mean, this probably cost about $300 for what I'm using right now. But honestly, what I would use is something like this, just, Blue Yeti USB microphone, and it just plugs in USB to your computer, right? You can get something like that. It's about $100, right? And it just sits on your desktop. You kind of, you want to talk near it, like you wouldn't want it, 5 feet away from you, but as long as it's, within about a couple feet of you, it's going to pick up great, crisp, clear audio. So those are kind of the 3 different options that I would recommend for, getting good audio into your video. Whatever way that you're going to capture that video, whether it's an iPhone, whether you are using a DSLR, or whether you're using a computer, that is, in my opinion, the most important thing. So start there for sure. Now, as far as lighting equipment, there's a couple different things that I recommend on it, but quite honestly, one of the best things you can do is just be aware of where there's going to be natural light. If, like, say for instance, you're shooting inside of a room and, there's a window, you don't want the window to be behind you when you're shooting the video, because then your face is going to be black, right? You would want to shoot the video where you're facing the window, right? So the lighting from the outside is hitting your face, and the video camera is actually, basically looking at you with the window kind of behind the camera. That's just the way that you want to do that. So always be aware of natural light. And of course, if you can take, video outside, that's super important, but you almost have to be aware of having too much light. Like, you don't want to be standing, in the direct sunlight, right? Because then you're going to be squinting, it's going to be you're going to have shadows all over your face. If you can, find a place that might be like shaded, where you have partial sunlight somewhere in there, that's usually going to be better for you, taking video that way than just standing right out there when the sun is beaming on you. So, just be aware of natural light and how that works. I hardly ever use any kind of additional light. The only time that I do use light is, like, for instance, right now I've got a ring light that sits up here in my office. And I've actually got that is kind of one of the things that I would recommend, is if, like, you're sitting in an office and you're taking video from the same spot all the time and you do want to have good lighting, invest in like a ring light. I'll show you kind of what that looks like. Very inexpensive. I use this Neewer, I guess I don't know how you say it, Neewer ring light. It's the least expensive one that I've found. That's an LED. It's like $109. It comes with a tripod, although I've got like a desk mount for it. So it's literally just a small tripod that it sits right on my desk, right next to me. And you turn it on and it gives you just additional lighting. Because as you can see probably from my video here, I've got a window behind me. So that won't really help me out with any kind of lighting. So in this environment where I'm sitting, since I do the same video from the same spot every time, it was good for me to invest in this light and just have it on my desk. So that way I've got a lighting source lighting up my face from the front. So anyways, that's what I would recommend there. The cool thing about the Neewer lighting too is you've probably seen, I mean, you can almost kind of tell who uses ring lights and who doesn't, because you can literally, there's a mount for you to put your DSLR or even your iPhone, whatever you're using to shoot your video. There's a, you can actually see it right here, mount for you to put your camera right in the middle of it. And if you're watching a video of somebody on YouTube or something like that, and you look in their eyes, like their pupils of their eyes, and you see it like kind of like a halo inside of their eyes, they're using a ring light. It's a pretty easy way to spot it. But it lights up your face. Amazing. It looks like you have professional lighting, and it's only $100 for this. So this Neewer ring light is what I recommend there for lighting. And then in a pinch, like that's like, because it's pretty big, pretty cumbersome. You're not going to really want to bring that with you unless you're doing something professional, like, it's going to be tough lighting environment. Typically what I bring with me, I just have this in my camera bag all the time, is this Aperture LED mini light. And I'll show you kind of what this looks like. This is pretty cheap and inexpensive also. It looks like this, $49. There you go. Yeah, $43. And it's literally just like a small light that you power it up before you leave your house, and it just has its own battery source inside of it. There you go. You can see it right here. You just plug it in. It'll store a charge, and it's actually super bright. It's got like 9 LEDs, I think, on it, so you can see the 9 LEDs back there. And so like I use this for two things, right? Like if I'm in an area where I just can't get like good lighting, maybe there's just not a way to shoot it where there's, light, like a natural light on my face or whatever, I'll just kind of set this thing up, right? Like you can put it on your camera, which is good. But then two, if like maybe like say if you already have your microphone, they call it a hot shoe. Like this thing goes on your hot shoe, but most DSLR cameras only have space for one thing on the hot shoe. And so like if you have a microphone, which I always have usually my microphone in the hot shoe, then I'll usually just kind of like put this up somewhere. I'll stick it up on a wall. I always have these like double-sided tape with me too. So in case I really had to use something like that, or I most of the time just end up setting it up on something, right? And then turn it on. And then now you've got a great, super bright light source for your face. The other way that you can use this is if you wanted to, like in the background, if you wanted to light something up, it kind of is cool. Like, if you wanted to emphasize something in the background, you can kind of just like put this in the back, shine it up, and it puts that extra little pop for anything that you might want to light up in the background. So kind of cool there. Definitely a lot of good uses for it for $43. It's a great little investment to have. You never know when you need it until you need it, right? And so just having it with you all the time in your camera bag is important. It's also good for at night, right? Like that's where most of this stuff comes into play. If you're recording any types of videos at night, especially with like your iPhone or anything like that, those sensors on those iPhones or any kind of phone for that matter are super small. So like usually they take great video during the day, but at night is where they're really going to struggle at. And so having light like this in a pinch to shine on your face at night will give you that ability to start recording videos at night if and when you need to. So, all right. Moving along. So we talked about a solid internet connection, how that's so important to have regardless of, like where you're at. Now, if you're just shooting video, recording video, whether it's on a DSLR or recording it on your iPhone or on your phone, it's not going to matter much because you're just going to record it, and then you can go back and edit it later. But if you're doing anything live, again, you're going to definitely want a solid internet connection. And then finally, now here's where we're going to get into the video equipment. So what I recommend, of course, is to start out with whatever you have, right? Like maybe you have a DSLR already and maybe it's old. That's fine. If it takes video, then use it, right? Like try it out. Make sure that you can, do something consistent, because consistency is probably the thing that everybody struggles with the most. It's not about having good equipment or about what to do the videos on. It's literally about consistency. Until you can prove to yourself that you're recording at least a video a week, I don't think that it's worth your while to go out there and spend $1,000 or more on a camera, right? So prove to yourself that you can create video consistently, and then you can start to maybe step it up. But first, what I would recommend, of course, is to have stable video. That's the other thing that you can do with the equipment you already have. Is if it's a live video, hey, that's okay if it's a little shaky or whatever. But if you're like creating something, like maybe it's a community video and you're standing out there in front of the neighborhood entrance, or in front of the school, or the whatever it is, wherever you're taking that video, and you're making this as something that you want people to find 6 months, 12 months down the road, and you want it to look professional, put it on a tripod, right? Like get a stand where it'll be eye level. The tripod can be up to your head, and it'll hold it for you, so it's stable and it's not going to be shaky. That's something cheap and easy that you can do. You can find tripod for 40, 50, 60 bucks that'll hold your phone. So another important thing that you can do there with your phone. Now, if it's live, hey, that's fine. If it's a little shaky, but anyways, there you go. Now, webcam. If you're going to be shooting videos like this, maybe it's an explainer video, maybe it's an area video like we had talked about. There's a Logitech C920S. It's a 1080p webcam. It's $70. It's one of the best ones that I've found for the price. I'll show you what it looks like. And I'll put a link to all of this stuff whenever I put the video posted. I'll make sure that there's a link to it so you can check it all out. But This is the C920 here. You can see there's a version like this that is regular, and then there's a version that has like a privacy, I think, yeah, without a privacy shutter and with a privacy shutter. And people are weird sometimes about wanting to, you know, put a cover over their webcam. So if you want that, this one has one built in, or you can get it without the privacy shutter. So that's what I use. That's what I'm literally doing this video on right now. For most people, this is, you know, good as you're going to need, right? If you just want a video that's sitting down, trust me, I went through the gamut of like, well, you know, hey, I've got my DSLR. Maybe I should get my DSLR, hook that up into my computer and do like live videos with it. Honestly, it's just not worth it. I mean, you know, like for this type of video, you know, I think when it's like an explainer type of a thing, or if you're doing a neighborhood type of thing and you're providing value, people are going to watch it as long as it's got good audio and it's, you know, at least, you know, decently, you know, decent quality. Like this is, you know, 1080p, not pixelated. You know, people are going to watch it. And so, you know, don't worry too much about that. So, I mean, for $60, you can get a great, you know, great webcam there. I did step it up because I've got a MacBook. And so, you know, I didn't really like the MacBook, you know, camera that I've got on it. Plus I use like dual displays. So I've got two different monitors for my MacBook that my MacBook hooks up into. And so my MacBook actually stays shut the whole time. I don't use the actual screen on my MacBook, so it's really hard to use the webcam for it. So that's why I purchased this one. And then lastly, the other reason why I think, you know, in a pinch that this one can be helpful is like we used to do presentations at a restaurant, and we wouldn't, like if I had just the webcam on my camera or on my computer and I wanted to like record the presentation using this webcam, I would have to like turn my computer around to get it. Whereas with this, you can just, you know, kind of turn it around on your laptop edge and still be like using your laptop the normal way and be recording out in whatever's in front of you. So just as a cool little other trick that you can use for those webcams. So webcam, I think that's a good one. Now, if again, if you're into DSLRs, like you're gonna get a DSLR, like you've proven that you can take video consistently, you're ready to step your game up. Here are kind of some of the ones that I would recommend. I personally use the Sony a7 III. In the past, I was a Canon user and I used the 80D. But now I use Sony, and I use the Sony a7 III, and I'll talk through a little bit of why. Now, basically from left to right goes from like inexpensive to expensive, right? With Canon, they have the G7X Mark II. If you see that, that's Mark II is what that stands for. The G7X Mark II, I'll show you what it looks like. This is the smallest one too. This is almost kind of like, it almost looks like a point and shoot, right? Like it is a point and shoot basically. It takes really, really good video though. It's, you know, it's an expensive point and shoot. It's probably what, $600. But if you talk to anybody that's doing vlogging or anything like that, this is the go-to camera that a lot of them use. The only downside to this camera, and this is why, you know, I don't use it. I've never, you know, personally recommended it to anybody, except for now in this video, is because it doesn't have a mic input on it, right? So you have to, it's got a mic, like the built-in mic, which in my opinion is not very good. But if you wanted to even add like an external microphone to it, you cannot, because it doesn't have a mic input on it. So that's one of the biggest limiting factors. So if you wanted to create, you know, good videos, you'd have to have a separate external audio source, which, like, you know, you can use your iPhone, right? Like if you used your iPhone, you had it in your pocket and you had, you know, the deal and use the audio recorder, you can do that, but then it's just an extra step. Now you got to go and edit the video, you know, take the video from your camera feed here and then take the audio from your iPhone and match them up together, which is just more work that you've got to do with this camera. Now, the M50, this is a mirrorless camera, and I'll show you here what this looks like. M50 Canon. It's a small camera. This one is actually like, you know, you can interchange the lenses, whereas like on the G7X you cannot. But this one's about the same price, $600, right? You can. It's called a crop sensor, meaning that it's not full frame. which is fine for most people. The only difference from what I understand is one, like, so a sensor is basically what captures the image, whether it's photos, whether it's video, it's what captures the image. And with like an iPhone, it's got a super small sensor, right? With a crop sensor, it's got a decently large sensor, bigger than for sure an iPhone sensor. But then you've got full frame sensor cameras, which are the biggest sensor. Now, one of the biggest advantages to having a bigger sensor is for low light capabilities and for additional megapixels, right? So like if you're taking a lot of stuff with like very little lighting, having a bigger sensor is going to help you out. So if you're taking a lot of stuff at night, then you might want to consider a full frame camera. If that's not your intent, you don't need to take 4K video probably everywhere that you're going. If 1080p is fine, having a crop censored DSLR camera is probably the sweet spot, right? It's better than an iPhone. And that's also, they're not as expensive. Like the crop sensor DSLR is a lot cheaper than a full frame DSLR. And so like this one here, is a good middle ground, I would say, for something that you could do. It's going to get, great quality video. At night, it's probably going to still be better than for sure the iPhone. But if you're not really taking a lot of low light stuff, then it's not going to matter. The EOS R, that's a newer one. It's gotten really good reviews. This is another Canon one. EOS R looks like this. It's more expensive for sure, $2,000. But it's got a flipped screen, right? So the screen will turn around so you can actually see if you're, vlogging or doing any kind of video where it's self-held. You can, see what you're shooting with this camera here. You can interchange the lenses. Now, the one thing I'll say on all of these cameras that I'm recommending is I would not go with the kit lens that comes with it. So a lot of these come with kit lenses versus where you can just buy the body only. I always recommend just buy the body only and then get your own lenses afterwards. And I'll show you what lenses you'd probably need. The other one here this is the one that I started on. I love this camera. I think really good. This was, for most part, I would probably still be good on this one. This is the ADD. It's a crop sensor. You can see the sensor is a little bit smaller. That EOS R, I actually should have put it after the ADD because it is more expensive and it is a full frame. EOS R, there you go. So the ADD, just to give you a heads up, I mean, it will take, 1080p video. The EOS R takes 4K video. But yeah, you can see here, this is a little bit bigger form factor. It's the ADDs are a little bit older, and it's not mirrorless, right? This is a true DSLR, whereas that EOS R is mirrorless. So it's a little bit smaller. So if like, that's something that's important to you, that's something you need to think about too. Like how big of a camera do you want? Like there's a lot of people that are like, I would just never hold that big of a camera out in front of me. And if that's you, well, then maybe you should be looking into mirrorless cameras because they're going to be a lot smaller. Now the big Hammer Jammer, this is literally the camera that I wanted to get for a long time. The 5D Mark II, for 99.9% of people. Actually, I'm sorry. It's not even I don't even know why the 5D Mark II is big. It's a full frame sensor. So you can see here, the sensor is full frame. This is the one that like for me, I wanted to get because it's like an ADD. It's got a flipped screen and all that. Oh, here you go. Yeah, that's the 6D Mark II, which they've got now. The 5D Mark II is still probably, in my opinion, better for video, even though it says an old model. This is great for, it does 1080p, it's full frame, so it's good with low light. It takes really high megapixel pictures as well. So like if you're into photography, it's going to be really good for that. But anyways, all right. But now you've got Sony. And the reason I went with Sony and the reason I went with an A7 III is literally because I wanted to get into 4K video. For most people getting into 4K right now, it's overkill. I wouldn't recommend it. I think that it just adds a lot of time when it comes to editing and all that kind of stuff. For shooting video, having something like an A6400 is probably your best bet if you want to go with Sony. I'll show you what this A6400 looks like. This is, there you go, A6400, about $900. No lens on that. It will take 4K video. I don't have this actually myself, so I don't know if that's like a true 4K or if it's cropped or what. But either way, the A6400 is a good, it's an APS-C, which means that it's cropped. That's what the C stands for. APS is a full frame. So basically the difference between my Sony a7 III and this A6400 is just the sensor size. So this is a mirrorless camera also. And so, either way, whichever way you want to go, if you're going to go a little bit cheaper. Now, as far as lenses, just because I know we're running out on time here, guys, is you want to look for a lens if you're doing any kind of like real estate video, real estate photography. If you're vlogging, you're going to want something that's wide angle. And when I say wide angle, you're looking at 16 to 35 millimeters, something in that range. Or it might actually be a zoom lens where that's the exact range of it, right? So like a lot of them, that's kind of the standard, whether you're going with a Canon, whether you're going with a Sony, I would pick up a 16 to 35. Here's like the F4 version of it. This is the, the red line means kind of professional. So they're going to be more expensive for sure. As you can see by the price, $1,000. You can get them a lot cheaper. Like here's one right here that is, 17 to 40 for $499. You can even go with like Sigma makes lenses for Canon. Sigma, it's like an off brand, but it makes, really good ones. Here's an 18 to 35 Sigma. Here's a 17 to 50 Sigma. So anything that's like that, right? Like that's going to be fine. F2.8, what that F means. So I recommended anything with an F4 or better, and you want it to be a fixed number there. So like you don't want it to say like F4 to F5.6. Like that's not something you would want. And most kit lenses, like the lenses that come with cameras, that's what they are, meaning that the aperture is variable. You want a fixed aperture. So like F4, if it just says F4, like, like this one says just F2.8, like that's fine. 2.8 is really good. I mean, that's going to give you, the difference is the lower the number, the more it's going to blur the background essentially, right? And so like F4, you're still going to have a really good blurred background with it. But like, F2.8, it's going to be even that much more blurred in the background. F1.8 is like super blurred, right? Like that's, you don't necessarily need that. That's definitely probably overkill in my opinion. F1.4, which you'll see that on prime lenses. A prime lens means that it doesn't zoom at all. So like this is just 16 millimeter, which could be fine. If you don't need to zoom at all, that might be okay. For me, I like to have a little bit of flexibility depending on where I'm at, whatever I'm doing, I can have it zoom. And so like the lens that I use for mine is I actually use this Sony 24 to 70 f2.8. It's an expensive lens, so just a heads up. But yeah, it's $2,100. But I mean, again, I use that for everything. So that means that it can go as wide as 24, which is pretty much as wide as I want it. 16 to me is kind of too wide. It almost distorts the image, in my opinion, a little bit. So even when I had my 16 millimeter lens, I would usually only go down to 24. So that's why this is perfect. I can go down to 24 as wide, but as narrow as 70 millimeters, which is pretty, decent zoom. So 70 millimeters. So basically, since I do a lot of vlogging and stuff like that, I only need this one lens and I can do just about everything that I need to do with it. So whether it's sitting, and doing a video on a tripod, with my DSLR, I can, put it at 24. Or if I'm out, and I wanted to zoom in on something, or if I want to take some portrait photography or whatever, that's where you can zoom into 70 and it looks really good. And again, it's fixed, 2.8 across that whole spectrum. So, all right, cool. Let's see how to edit real estate videos. We've got 2 minutes, literally not enough time to talk about how to edit real estate videos. Luckily, I've actually already created a video that is all around how to edit real estate videos. And I'm going to link that down below this so you can watch that separately if you want to watch it. It's how I've edited a real estate listing video, which I think as real estate agents, that's probably the one that you're going to want to watch the most, because it's actually going to show you how you can create your very own listing videos, which, I mean, as you know, it costs $500, $600, $700 sometimes to have a professional come and take that video for you. Now, I use Final Cut Pro here, and it's basically the video that I do is showing how to do it on Final Cut Pro. but you can actually do the same thing that I do on Final Cut Pro in pretty much any of these, right? iMovie is the most simple. InShot is probably a little bit more advanced than iMovie, but it's still super simple. You can use both of these on your phone. So you don't have to have a super powerful, video editing computer to use these. But yeah, iMovie and InShot, those are the two. iMovie comes free if you're an iPhone user. InShot is an app I think you pay pretty inexpensive, like $5 or something for. LumaFusion's a little bit more powerful. I don't know for a fact, you might be able to do it on your phone, but I think you almost have to have an iPad and like kind of a more powerful iPad to run LumaFusion, which is a great one if you're wanting to edit on an iPad. And then of course, if you're wanting to edit on a computer, Final Cut Pro and Adobe Premiere are kind of the two that you can use there. I believe you can still use iMovie on a computer too. So if you want to kind of stick to the basics, iMovie you can use on a phone or a computer. Final Cut Pro is going to be a little bit more advanced. And Adobe Premiere, in my opinion, is even more advanced than Final Cut Pro. It's just a little bit more kind of to learn. So, but I'll share that video on how I edit my videos as far as listing videos go. And truly, if you can understand how to edit a listing video, because that's going to be the one that has kind of the most edits to it, like the most cuts, and you got to add music to it, you got to add all this stuff to it. So if you can understand how to do that, creating like an explainer video or a video where you're talking about a zip code or an area code, that's going to be way easier. So like truly, if you can figure out how to do just the basics of what I explained in that video, you'll get how to do everything else that you're going to need to do with video. How long should a real estate video be? As short as possible to get the point across. So that's the thing, is like people love video these days, but the amount of people that are going to sit down and watch a 50-minute video is very few and far between, right? Like unless it's like a how-to tutorial type of a video and they really want to know about that subject, like they're not going to sit for 50 minutes, right? So first off, thank you guys that have stayed around this point, because this has been an hour and you're still here, right? So that says a lot. But again, this is like a tutorial kind of thing, right? So people will stick around. If it's something about, the real estate market or about anything, people aren't going to watch more than probably 2, 3, 4, 5 minute videos, right? Like that's just how it is. So keep them short, to the point, right? I mean, I know that people even do like 30-second videos, right? Like that's all that it might take to get the point across. Right? So don't put a lot of fluff in there. Keep it short, keep it sweet. And then again, that's just the easiest way to do it. Platforms, I look at it kind of two different ways. There's promotional, in my opinion, and then there's evergreen. I think the most powerful one is the evergreen. I think you want to put your videos on like a blog or a website, something that you can own, something that you can put keywords into. So that way they're, searchable and people can find you months and years down the road. And so on your blog, you're basically trying to appeal to the Google audience, people that are searching on Google that are going to come across your stuff. And then of course, YouTube is similar to a website, right? People search. It's actually a search engine is what YouTube is. And so people will search for video and they come across your video, and that's evergreen, right? Like you might create a video today and it'll get searched 8 months down the road. And the more and more video you can be adding to that library, the better. Promotional is like videos that you're creating just like one-off, to basically promote something, but then it's not going to get found a long time from now. So like, for instance, I put everything on my blog and YouTube, and then I promote it and I put it on Facebook and Instagram and all that kind of stuff as well. But they've got to be here first. And I use these to kind of promote that video, right? So that's how I kind of look at that. I've got some homework, pretty easy homework, guys, for you guys. The most important thing is just to get familiar, not to be scared of this stuff. So literally go out there, shoot a live Facebook video, talk about something you learned, provide value to somebody, right? It can just be 30 seconds if that's all you want it to be, or a minute, right? Maybe talk about what you learned today, right? Like this is what I learned about video today. The one thing that I picked up, I was talking to a real estate agent the other day, and he's on this call right now, and he was telling me that this past week was the best week he's ever had in real estate. He had the most business, the most closings, the most people he was helping in this past week. It was just a great week for him. I was like, dude, you need to do a live video and share that with people, and just let them know what was so good about that week, and what your career in real estate has been like up until this point. and why you're so excited moving forward. Something so easy that you can do and do it live, right? Like just make a quick live video about that. So use whatever equipment that you have, make the topic relevant to something in your business, right? So something that's going to help people or share with people, something that you're up to, right? Like that's value, right? People want to stay connected. So even if you're providing, sharing what you've been up to, maybe a thought that you're having, it's going to resonate with somebody. So, and then we didn't get into a whole lot of this, but the other important part about the video side of it is just having a strategy, right? And a posting schedule. You've got to think, why am I doing this? If I'm going to really start tackling video, which, I think that you should, what is going to be your strategy? What is your desired outcome of all of this? Do you want to have a library created that you can send people to and have value for people down the road? I think that's probably the most important strategy that's involved with this. And if that's the case, then what are you going to do first? Like, are you going to start keyword research, find out what people are looking for? Are there some topics that you automatically know that you want to cover because you've talked about them 100 times to people in the past? Are you doing this so you can gain knowledge? A lot of times when I create videos, it's because I want to learn something myself, right? And just what I've learned. And so figure out what your strategy is going to be, how often you're going to post, and be consistent with it. Because again, that is so important. A lot of people get discouraged because it does take a while to actually get traction on your videos. I've been creating videos now for over, probably a year to 2 years consistently, more so now recently. But I mean, having all this video out there, I'm finally now starting to get traction where people are seeing it. And for some people, they want to put one video out and they think it's going to be like a home run. And when it's not, they get discouraged and they don't do it again. Or maybe, they do it consistently for 2 weeks or a month or whatever. But it literally is something that you have to commit to for a year, more than a year, before you actually even start to see some results from it. There's things that will happen in the meantime that will be helpful to your business, but you're not going to really, really see some drastic results until you're consistent with it for a long period of time. So, all right. So that's it, guys. I can see the chat here. We got some questions in here. I want to get to the chat real quick before we end this. All right. So let's take a look and just see what I missed. A lot of good mornings, good mornings, good mornings. Love it. All right. Do you suggest drones? Oh, that's a good one. So as far as drones go, that's something I didn't cover. I do suggest drones. I think drones are huge. And they've gotten so easy now where literally anybody can operate these drones. I mean, you have so much sensors and stuff where you almost can't crash them, even if you tried. I've had my 5-year-old daughter flying my drone. So if she can do it, anybody can fly a drone. I promise you guys. The one that I love, DJI, guys, just so if you're looking for a drone, real quick suggestion on drones, the DJI Spark is a good one. Super small, compact, cheap, $500, takes great video, has all kind of the sensors and things that you're going to need. The one that I use is the DJI Mavic Pro. It's more expensive. It's probably overkill for most people, but if you got the money, you want to spend it on that, this is the one that I've used. And the biggest difference, of course, is the Pro's got a bigger sensor, right? We all talked about kind of what the sensor size can do. Compared to the Spark. The Spark is probably going to have the sensor size of an iPhone, whereas this has got a 1-inch sensor in it. So it's not quite as big as a crop sensor on a DSLR, but it's definitely bigger than an iPhone. So anyways, there we go. Let's see, what is better, ring lights or aperture lights? I think on that question, you're probably talking not about the little LED aperture lights that I'm using, but you're probably looking at Aperture also has this type of lighting. Aperture, I think it's the 120D, yeah, where it's this type of lighting. If you're talking about that, this lighting is probably better. They're way more expensive, and you got to add a softbox to it. So there's just more equipment that you need. Now this is better. See, there you go. That's it with a softbox, and that is going to produce amazing quality light for you. But honestly, for $100, I would just go with the ring light. So. Let's see. All right. Let's see. What cam do you can make sure? Do you see quality being lost when uploaded to social media, videos and pics? Yeah, I absolutely. You will see that video lost, Mario. But honestly, it's probably not that bad. You can upload now, I think, to Facebook in. I think you can upload it in 4K. But honestly, when I put it in to YouTube. It even, it encodes it to match YouTube, and it will lose a little bit of video quality. But honestly, I mean, you've probably seen my channel. It's not going to be anything where it's too bad, right? So, and it keeps your audio quality pretty much the same. It's just going to lower the video quality because that's where all the size is taken up. Audio, it's so little as far as the size in megabytes that it takes up. So it doesn't, YouTube and Facebook, they don't usually mess with your audio, but it will mess with your video a little bit. But again, if you're uploading in 1080p or even 4K, it's not going to mess with that very much. There we go. Can you type in the link for Final Cut Pro video? Oh yeah, Gabriel, I've already got it recorded on my computer. I've just got to upload it to YouTube. So I will put that here in a little bit once I have it uploaded. So I actually just created it not too long ago. I had a new listing video that I was doing. And so I was just basically, as I was doing the listing video, I was recording myself and kind of explaining what I was doing as I go. So cool. Yeah, Mario, thanks. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, it's like I say, it's a learning process. The biggest thing, guys, honestly, is literally just starting, right? Like just do it with the equipment you have. And as you, do it more and more, you'll have more and more questions, like specific questions. Unfortunately, like for myself, I just got all the answers on YouTube. Quite honestly, I learned everything that I know self-taught on both photography and videography on YouTube. I watched a lot of people. I'll show you real quick. And this is for going overtime, guys. For those of you that are still sticking around, I figure I'll throw in a couple extra bonus things for you guys. But there's a couple of people that I subscribe to on YouTube specific to video. So, I mean, here's everybody I subscribe to. But as far as video, guys, if you want to learn more about it, Jared Polin, he's a great, video photography guy. Peter McKinnon, that's one of my favorites. I watched pretty much every single video that Peter McKinnon's done, which he's got a lot of them. So that's a lot of time that I put in watching Peter McKinnon. Flight Path, that's a good drone video subscription. If you're into drones, you want to learn about taking drone video, Flight Path is a good one to follow. Matty Hapoja, he's a great video editor and creator. So he's a good one to follow. He's similar to Peter McKinnon. In fact, him and Peter McKinnon are like partners, like they work in the same office. Let's see, video influencers. This is a really good one, guys. This is like on equipment and stuff. He talks a lot about like video equipment that you can buy and use to produce better, higher quality video content. Let's see, where else? Potato Jet. He's another good one. He's kind of a funnier guy. Does, a lot of, different equipment reviews, talking about different ways to record equipment. Sawyer Hartman, that's another one you can watch. Kai W, he's a funny guy. I like his stuff that he does. Let's see, last one here. Cody Blue is a really good one. Alan Palander, I don't know how you say his last name, but he does a lot of like photo editing stuff. He talks about like creating stuff for Instagram and how to, up your stuff for like social media and photography. So he's a good one to follow. Henbu is another good one. He's specific more for like Sony cameras. So like if you are into Sony cameras, DSLRs, Henbu has a lot of stuff for Sony cameras. So does Cody Blue. Both of those are Sony guys. Whereas like if you look at Peter McKinnon and Matty Hapoja, those are both Canon guys. So anyways, I hope that helps sharing that stuff with you. But honestly, that's like literally like that can be a rabbit hole because there's so much to watch. The important thing is for me is I was out there creating it, and then I would like go to those to like refine it, right? Like, but I was already doing. I wasn't just in this analysis by paralysis by analysis. Like I was out there creating, and then I was just getting better as I would watch videos. So just make sure that you're doing it at the same time. All right, guys. Well, that's it there. Let me see if I missed anything on Facebook. Awesome. JC, I'm glad that you liked it. Nick, awesome. Hey, it was great meeting you, man. I hope, it was good seeing you there. I know you know a lot of this stuff. You probably know more than me on all this stuff, man. I'm sure you do. So glad to see you on the call though. Cool. All right, guys. Well, that's it. Well, we'll wrap this one up. I'll get that video out, the one where I edit my listing video here for you guys in a little bit. And if anybody has any questions, always feel free to message me, comment below, and I'll get back to your questions as quickly as I can. So everybody have a great Labor Day, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.